Great. Thanks for the opportunity for me to present a piece of my research and hopefully getting some feedback from the audience after the presentation. So I'm going to present an analysis of adopting renewable energy in the tech companies and its implications to the climate targets attainment and energy costs. So we all know that tech companies are changing our lives. And since the last century, the end of the last century, we saw like the internet revolution and also like how it has been transforming our life and like different behaviors and the lifestyles. And we can browsing the internet, searching everything. We are also uh, doing some like a smart transportation, and also we can also work from home through the internet. So it's very convenient for us, but also it's also somehow more carbon intensive and requires more energy to support these activities. And we can see the tech companies are playing an increasingly important roles in the economy. And this stats show the tech companies' share of the revenues in the entire Fortune 500 companies in the United States. And the share went up around 20% from about like 10 or 11% of the revenues. And looking at their share in the total GDP in the United States, it's also increasing until about 12% of the national GDP in the United States. And when we are talking about the tech companies, it's not only the tech companies that falls into the technology sector, but also some other companies like Amazon, they also do some retailings, and they can also because they have different departments doing different business. So we are also including the industrials, retailing, and telecommunications and wholesalers. So altogether, in this analysis are considered tech companies. And looking at the entire Fortune 500 companies in the United States, we can see that technology, this sector ranks pretty high in terms of revenues, profits, number one, and the market values number one, the number of employees ranked number two. And given their increasingly important roles, there are also increasing investments in the AI by the tech companies. So the global corporate investment in AI increased about over 20 times over the past 8 years from 2013 to 2021. And because of this investment in AI, we have more applications in the healthcare sectors. We all use ChatGPT, it's very convenient. And people are also building smart homes. So in this figure, it shows the investment in AI by the tech companies. We can see the peak of 2021, but there was a decline afterwards. It's mainly because of the decreased number of the newly built AI startups and also some investment events. And United States is leading the AI investment, especially the private investment. It's very large. It's about 2 times of the EU and 3.5 times of China. So it's a large amount of investment. And the giant tech companies also secured 2/3 of the investment raised by these AI companies. And in this figure, we can show that the percentage of the total technology spend in this kind of like a generative AI account for like more than 10% projected to 2030. So considering this increasing applications investment, there's also another concerns about increasing energy demand. And there's a report from EIA project that there's a 2.4% of the increase in electricity consumption this year. This growth is 12 times higher than the utility experienced from 2010 to 2020. And we can also hear from different news and the studies saying the energy demand from the data center is also increasing significantly. It's going to double by 2030. And one fun application we can probably use every day is when you search something from Google and search something from ChatGPT. ChatGPT consumes 10 times energy compared to when you search something just from Google. And if you pay $20 to get the premium version, GPT-4, the electricity consumption is going to increase a lot because of their more advanced models. And on the right side figure, the bottom, it shows the projection of the global electricity demand from the data centers, AIs, and the cryptocurrencies by IEA reports. And from there, we can also collect some data about the data center workload and energy consumption over the past decade, and also the role of the big tech companies and their growing electricity consumption over the years. We also look at the digital and energy indicators, and the data center over the 7 to 8 years, it increased about like 50%. The crypto mining energy use, it goes a lot, more than 20, 30 times. And the data transmission work and the energy use is also increasing. And we can also see that even though like data center is a big energy consumption, it's about like a 1% of the global electricity, but because of the application of the AI and more model development, people can use AI query more often and in different like apps. So it's gonna be more and increasing energy consumption from the AI query in the next few years, and also like transmission, networking, blockchains, etc. And here are examples of some like big tech companies about increasing energy use. They also have an increasing greenhouse gas emissions, and greenhouse gas emissions can be very significant for some large tech companies. And Bitcoin emissions from Bitcoin is also increasing over the years. And we can there are a lot of studies going on that analyze how to use AI to improve our energy efficiency. So it's benefit for us because we improve our energy efficiency in, for example, the household appliances. So we can potentially pay lower energy bills, and we probably can get more like economic and energy and environmental benefits, like through different sectors because of AI. For example, the building sector, the heating, ventilation, and like the manufacturing, etc. But it also raises another question, which is who should be responsible for these emissions? Like even though our energy bills is getting lower, but every time we send a query, and the companies, the data centers are gonna run this big AI models, like language models, and consumes a lot of energy. So the energy is gonna increase in the data center and for the companies. So is there gonna be a shift of the carbon responsibility from consumers to the upstreams, like producers? But eventually it's probably going to be passed to the consumers because every time they develop this like apps and the softwares and the consumers buy it, but it also raises a question of the climate responsibility. Oh, sorry. So in my study, I'm curious about considering of the surging energy demand. Does the energy demand from the AI hinder the tech companies from achieving their climate goals? So can they still achieve their declared climate targets? And also, a lot of tech companies are adopting more renewable energies. and develop some renewable energy plans. So when is a good time for them to adopt these renewable energies, and can these like early adoption of renewable energy provide economic and environmental benefits and potentially help their sustainable development and achieve their like climate goals. So to answer this question, I look at some big tech companies, get their emission inventories and collect their climate targets, and also develop different scenarios considering the uh, energy consumption, given the increasing energy demand from the AI investment, and also their like plans for the energy mix, renewable energy portfolio, and levelize the cost of electricity, and also some other scenarios considering, for example, the carbon pricing. What's going to happen after the carbon price being implemented. And from these scenarios, I analyze their progress of the reducing the emissions, and also the energy cost uh, and avoided emissions to see if they can reach their self-reported, self-declared climate targets. So I get the data from the large tech companies from CDP, which is Carbon Disclosure Project. I selected two big companies. I collect company A and company B. Also collect some data from fossil fuels and renewable energies that this company use. And CDP is a very great platform that collect all these companies' self-reported ESG performance reports, and also their climate targets, emission inventory. So there's also like a graph showing how many companies this large list would include. And for the two companies, company one, they made a climate commitment about the absolute emission target. They said that by 2030, they're going to reduce their scope 1, 2, 3 emissions by 61.7%. And they also have a renewable energy target to increase the share of low carbon renewable energy to 100% by 2030, which is a more like a low carbon type of company. And the company B, they declared their targets, absolute emission target to reduce their scope 1 2 emission by half, and the scope 3 emission by 45%. Scope 3, I know a lot of people in this room probably do some more technology stuff. Like scope 3 is mainly the emissions embedded in the supply chain, like more like upstream emissions. And they also have the renewable energy target to increase the share to 75%. And I developed the different scenarios, the energy demand scenarios, given the projection from the IEA report, EIA report, and some like other studies to have a number for the low case, base case, and high case for the energy demand, and also emission intensity to a projection until like 2030. I also developed another scenario, which is number S4, that models what if they achieve their renewable energy target by 2030, and other scenarios regarding the policy scenarios if we adopt renewable energies without the renewable energy credits and with the renewable energy credits, and what if we implement the carbon price with this number, about $14 per ton CO2 equivalent. And to consider the carbon pricing and also the benefits, especially economic benefits of using renewable energies, I use a capacity weighted levelized cost of electricity, and the interim year of 2024, 2027, and 2040. Obviously, 2040 is too late, probably. So some results from this analysis is for company A, we can show that the emission inventory is decreasing over the years, over the past 8 years. Good news is that emission intensity is also decreasing in terms of emissions per revenue, emissions per employment, and emissions per megawatt hours being being consumed. But the energy consumption, so the orange line shows the total energy consumption, it's increasing. And since it is a company with higher renewable energy proportion, it is like over 90%. But still the total energy consumption is increasing over the time. But for the company B, there's in contrast, their emission inventory is increasing, emission intensity is increasing as well. Even though they adopt a higher share of renewable energy, but their renewable energy has a very low share, which is below 50% of the total energy consumption. And their total energy consumption is slightly decreasing over the time. So there are a brief overview of the two companies. So when we look at the energy consumption, looking at only the fuels, not the electricity. Right now it is only fuels. So this part is about 20 to 15% of the total energy being consumed in this company, company A. And we can see there's how the input of the fuels change over time. About the biomass, it's mainly the gasoline and oil. And for company B, it's mainly gasoline and the natural gas and the oil that is changing over the time. But for company A, what does this number mean? With this energy consumption, it's about energy consumption in New York City for 80 years. So this is the size of the company. So it's a lot of energy being consumed here. And in terms of energy consumption, this is about the electricity in terms of renewable energy input. So for company A, it's like a 60%, which is solar, 30% wind. For company B, 60% of the wind, and there are some other solar and hydropower as well. And here's a graph shows the renewable energy sourcing, where they get renewable energy, and what are the tracking instruments being used. And the main tracking instruments being used here are probably RACs and renewable energy certificates, and also a guarantee of origins for the two companies. So summary that projected energy demand based on this scenario for company A and B. And we can also compare if their projected emissions aligns with their climate targets. So like the dot here is their self-declared climate targets. We can see that they are not meeting their climate targets based on their current greenhouse gas emissions and also energy demand, considering also the different scenarios, especially the potential increase of the energy. And this is a result of the scenario 4, where what if these companies fully implement their renewable energy targets? We can see for company A, well, the emission decreasing if they meet their renewable energy target. But for company B, because they have a lower share of renewable energy, and considering the increasing energy demand in this company cannot meet its self-declared targets. And doing the cost-benefit analysis about replacing the fossil fuels with the renewable energies, especially considering the lowest cost of renewable energy. here's analysis showing that the different entering year for renewable energy and like how much like financial cost, like money they can save, because some of the renewable energy have lower levelized cost, like average across the years. And on the right-hand figure, it's showing what if we implement about $14 carbon price, and they can achieve a higher saving by adopting renewable energy at an earlier stage. Well, the takeaway of this analysis is that some companies with more ambitious targets for renewable share are likely to be on track to meet their climate targets by 2030, even though there's an increasing amount of energy, like considering the application and investment in AI. But for the companies with less ambitious target in renewable shares are not likely to meet their self-declared targets by 2030. And we also found that there are financial savings can be achieved by early adoption of renewable energies. And the clean and renewable energy can be an opportunity for the companies to achieve their climate targets and sustainability targets. Also, there are limitations of the study. It's only the average cost for a lot of renewable energies. But not very, as a previous presentation, very detailed, like geographical location specifically, like renewable energy cost. So there are a lot of assumptions being made in this analysis. In the future, we are looking for more, including more companies in the study, and also addressing where the energy is consumed, whether it's in the data center or it's like along the supply chain, and which part of the supply chain. Also, we also wanted to model more scenarios to be included in the study, just to get a more sensitive, and a sensitive analysis to see the how different scenario will help the company achieve their climate targets, and if they can meet their climate targets. So it's the end of the presentation. Thank you so much.
Yes, okay, so one or two questions? So first of all, thank you. We're going to be running a little bit over it, so thank you for staying, and anybody who put a lot of work pulling these presentations together. So I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
So just don't use ChatGPT, except if you really need to. Right? It's a pretty cool. It's kind of a jar.
Yeah, it's a lot of energy.
Okay. So we have pathways, sustainable pathway towards methane assisted. I don't. Don't send it. No, no, not here. Okay. Lots of limitation. Renewable energy transition to energy sovereignty in Alaska. Yes.